welcome to 30, Flirty, and Nerdy. My name is Juliana, and today I have Mara Francesca here. Mara is a content creator, an intuitive tarot reader, and sometimes a plus-size model. You're also a manifester, a mentor, an owner, and founder of 2 businesses, a yoga teacher, and you have an ERYT 500 certification, which I don't know what that means. So I'm going to have you explain that a little bit. But you do so much. You were born and raised in the Philippines. You traveled to Asia and Europe for yoga and tarot cards, tarot readings, and we actually met at the event, the Wellness Market Weekend event. We met and you gave me a tarot reading or an intuitive reading, and it was so good. It was probably like the most impressive tarot reading I've ever had in my life. I'm not even joking. I've had it done to me a couple of times and it just never really jived with me. But you brought up certain things in my life that I was shocked that you even saw or knew, because I never told you anything about it or anything of what's been going on. And so the fact you just brought it up makes me be like, all right, you're the real deal.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and it's not, there's some intuitive readers that kind of use psychology and all of that, but you just have a different energy to you. And I really liked how we connected, and I'm just really happy and thankful that you're on my podcast. So thank you so much for being a guest today.
I am truly honored, Jules. When I met you through that reading, she's like, oh my gosh, she's going to have this new adventure. She's going to explore so many things about herself. And then when you mentioned to me that you have a podcast, like 30, Flirty, and Nerdy, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. And what do you need? Because like 30s have been me being in my 30s and me being in my late 30s now. It just made me realize that I this is like one of the best decades, more than my 20s. I always say 20s was like the best, but once that I started hitting like the mid 30s, I just said, I love this. I love the unapologetic side because it's basically a preview of what's going to happen within your 40s.
Mm, I like that. I haven't heard that before. So your 30s is like a preview into your 40s.
Yeah. So like so the first half of your 30s, like 31 to let's say 34, okay, or 30 to 30. Let's just say the 29 to 30 to 34. I always say that's where you feel like you're a teenager again. You feel like you're 13, you're 14, growing some body parts, like what I was saying a while ago before we started. It's like I just felt like my body parts were changing. I started seeing wrinkles, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is a conversation that I have to have with my mom. Do I do Botox or something like that? No, I haven't. And then your hips are getting wider. You just look different. And honestly, 30s have been like, especially late 30s was my serious glow up. I am very proud of that. Like I've always been a curvy lady, but most of by the end of my 20s, I lost lots of weight, and I felt so insecure with my body. And then once I started getting into my 30s, started gaining weight, I feel fantastic. I think it's because once I hit 35 and 36, that's when I started to feel like I really don't give a crap about what everybody says about me. I'm going to show my tatas. I'm going to wear that crop top that I've been wanting to wear since like the 90s. I really don't care. I'm setting an example to a lot of my curvy women, especially the younger generation, to be comfortable with their skin. Unlike when I was growing up, especially that I grew up in Asia where everybody was under 100 pounds and like a size -1 or something like that. And I didn't have a place. And then when I moved out here to the US, like I started to really start to feel much more comfortable with my skin. So yeah, I just think that in your 30s, Jules, you're gonna love it. The 31, 32, 33, 34 is the awkward stage. Like, remember when you're getting I think about it as the pre-adolescent years of your adulthood, more than your 20s, because your 20s, you're carefree. You don't have that much debt. You're still trying to figure out who you are. You might be dating around, or you were in a serious relationship, or you are in a serious relationship trying to get to know each other. Like, it's a preview of your adulting stage of your life. And then once you turn 30, all of a sudden you have this mind of, I'm still like, especially in your early 30s, like I can still play around. And then when when you hit like mid 30s, like once you hit like 34, 35, 36, you're like, no, it's game on. I'm going to start showing up for myself because I choose me. I'm going to make my career. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to be more confident because I'm not 20 anymore. And it's actually it's start going into your 40s. So
Yeah.
when you start turning 35, when you start turning 35, you're going to go straight to the late 30s. Like, you start to become really more comfortable with your skin, comfortable with the words that you speak, because you're no longer 20. No one treats you like a kid. You're much more like, you already know you have to not to judge anybody that are in their late 30s and they don't know what to do with their lives. Don't get me wrong, honey, we are in the same boat. I am just trying to ride my own my own vehicle on my way to the journey of life. But I think, like, being 35 and 36, you're much more comfortable with your skin. You really don't give a crap about what everybody thinks. And then at the same time, it's like the more confidence you try to exude and you try to manifest into the things that you want, because it's not that you're aggressive, but you're much more, you have the whole entire preview of what's going to come next in the next 10 to 15 years. And the thing is, like, what I always think about the late 30s is a preview to what you're about to start in your 40s. And I heard from so many people, 40s as a woman is the best decade that any woman will have, because, like I said, wasn't a big fan of my early 30s. I felt so uncomfortable. Like I was telling you previously to this, it's like there's this movie called The Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz and Christina Applegate and Selma Blair, and they were showing, and I watched this when I was a teenager, when they were saying like 21, 31, 21, 31, with like just looking at their boobs and even looking at have you seen this? It's like your back wings. Where did this come from? And I said, literally, that's how I felt. That's how I felt. But once you hit like 35 to 36, it's just like, who cares? I look younger than most 20-year-olds, so I'm going to be just fine. Like, I start to like really believe in it. Like I said, my 30s have been like my late 30s have been my complete glow up. I started to believe in myself.
I'm excited for that because I feel like I'm in that process of the glow up stage because I felt like my 20s, like you said, I was very awkward. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know who I was. I was very emotional, which is not a bad thing, but it was more of it ruled my life in a way. Like, it was my ruler. But now that I'm more confident in who I am and like I'm more logical sense thinking, it's not as overpowering now. So now, like, I could think more clear, if that makes sense. And I really liked how you said that you're still awkward in your early 30s and you're still learning everything. And like your mid 30s and your late 30s, you kind of own who you are and you become way more confident. And you actually mentioned this, you start to find confidence and manifestation. So, like, how would you say manifestation served you in confidence when you're going through your 30s? What did that look like for you? And how did you know that your manifestation was working?
So, like everybody else 2 years ago, in 2020 done, right? Everybody was getting to know each other once again. And it just so happens that I think I don't know how old I was, like 30, I'm turning 34. And because of what was happening with the world, everything was shut down. And then I lost, honestly, and I have to say this to everybody in their early 30s, be prepared for a lot of changes, meaning you may lose a lot of the people, you may lose a lot of yourself in order to reveal the true self. Meaning, for me personally, I lost a lot of people along the way. And was it like a really bad breakup? Yeah, worse than a romantic breakup, really, because I lost a couple of friends that I have known for 10 to 15 years. Although, like, it's not like a bitter breakup. It was just like it faded out, it fizzled. And I had to deal with that. I had to deal with the grief of losing best friends over the years that I have grew up in my 20s, and also learning to let go of other career paths. And I've burned, and I'm going to be very 100% real, I burned a lot of bridges in my career. It was needed. I felt bad, but it was needed because I was trying to bring in more of my truth. And the thing is that's what I always tell everybody to expect that's going to happen in your 30s. I've seen it with my clients alone. They're saying, like, oh, I stopped talking to my best friend. How old are you? 31 or 32? Okay, you got to accept that. And they said, but you have no idea, like, how many friends that I've had for decades that I reconnected with, that knows me since I was a baby and all of that stuff. So there's so many changes. So when you mean manifestation, because I did burn a lot of bridges, and then when I say burn a lot of bridges, like, they exited out of my life, situations, jobs, careers, more came in. And when I say manifesting and how I manifested that, I started looking at myself in the mirror. I said, this is not who I am. And I don't know who I am. When I started to focus on that part and said, I don't know who I am, that's when I started to write my own story, basing it off of, like, how to manifest in your 30s, or even if there is no age limit to this. But based on my experience, because I am in my 30s, and I was in my early 30s when I started manifesting, I rewrote my whole entire story. I wrote who I am, what others think of me, and who I am as of the moment, and what I'm going to change. The first thing that I said was the lack of belief in myself. I felt like I was people pleasing to a point where I would, again, in my 30s, I have nothing to lose, overstretch the truth, probably tried to. Basically, I was a walking resume when you shouldn't be trying to pretend, or not even exaggerating yourself in order to have other people like you. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I wish most people will admit this, that we as human beings are very innate to try to impress other people. When we go out on dates, right? We put our best foot forward all the time, which is great. But once you keep doing it on a constant basis, you lose the essence of yourself. And me being a Gemini sun, I always want to make other people happy. But at the end, like I said, in my 30s, I realized I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with the people I was associating with, the work that not all of my work, but some of my work philosophies have completely changed. And again, there's nothing wrong with my job during back in the day. There was nothing wrong with the people I was hanging out. It's just that I was outgrowing them. But I kept forcing myself to fit into this box that no longer fits who I am. And then what happened was that when I started writing who I was, what people think of me, and who I truly am, not what I have, not what I do, not what my skills are, but who I am, I started to look at myself differently. It's like me being Filipino for once. Like, I am not ever going to be a size zero. I lived in the US where a lot of different bodies are being embraced slowly but surely. I've come from a country that very loving. I am very grateful for my culture being Filipino, and but their standards were so detrimental for a teenage person like myself during that time where everybody was a size zero. Everybody was like petite, light skinned, and all of that stuff. And they were putting it in a norm that is the standard of beauty when that's not going to be who I am. So when I started to go and work on myself, again, I started to become I'm going to dress up the way I want to dress up. This is what I want. The trend right now is 2000s, like a little bit on the Y2K. What did I wear? I'm not going to try to be a teenager, but what did my age wear in the 2000s? That's how my mind is. Okay, I'm 30, I'm turning 37, Jules. I'm going to dress up like a MILF. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dress up like Stacy's mom in 2002, and I don't give a shit. So that's what I did. And then I started to dress up like that. I started to play like I'm like 2 shades darker right now because I honestly this is fake tan because I want to be tan all the time. I'm not in the Philippines. I'm like, oh yeah, like everybody else wants to have that really nice fair skin. I am going to tan myself, put spray tan all over, want to glow everywhere I go. I'm going to get my hair blonde. And I did that for a bit. I started to work. I really think that the mid 30s and even like 34, Jules, I started to think about it as me healing my inner teenager.
I love that you say that because I feel that way too. It's like now that I live here, I could feel like I could dress up however I want to and not have to worry about, oh, what's my family going to say when I walk out wearing glitter? I don't know. It's definitely a different feeling that, like what you're saying, you kind of dress as if you would your teenage self. That's how I feel like now. Like now I'm like not shying away from trying different things when I go out, which is really fun.
It's
So I
so
totally
fun.
see that.
It's so fun. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to dress like a teenager when I was in 2001, when I was 15. I'm going to dress like a 36-year-old during that time and dress up appropriately and have fun and maybe have some little bits and pieces of like my
Mhm.
teenage years. I'm literally at the club right now where there are a bunch of 16 or 17-year-old kids that are driving now. And I would say, oh my God, they have a license. And then and in my head, I'm like, I am actually so proud to be in the club of I have shirts older than you. Because I do have this particular top that my mom gave me, and I still have it, and it's 21 years old, and it's back on the trend. It's on trend right now. It's to which I'm like, I'm so excited because I'm, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to be playful with every single thing that I have. I have nothing to in your 30s. That's what I will learn. I have nothing to lose. I have no one to pretend. I have a great, amazing set of friends, and I have a amazing job that I love. And I think like I said, I switched my jobs. It's not that I hated my old job. I love being a full-time yoga teacher. But now I have different avenues of having 2 businesses. I do readings. I just don't do yoga itself, like it's always in a down dog, but I talk about yoga as a philosophy to which I am very passionate about, and applying that to my cards and to my mentorship that I say believe in themselves. And yeah, so most of my clients are about to turn 30 or are in their early 30s. And they said, out of here, fine. And they would always tell me, like, I just feel so uncomfortable, Mara. And I would be telling them, and I would tell them, that was me 32. Enjoy. Because like once that you turn like 33, you're gonna love it. And 34, you're going to even love it. And 36, 37, you can breathe.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It's very exciting. I remember talking to Letitia about
Mhm.
that, and she said that she's so excited about each birthday that she has because each day that for each year she like learns more about herself and she just is so excited to see what the next step is. And what you said now just kind of reminded me of that, of like how it's awkward now, but then as you grow, as you age, you start to find more confidence in yourself, which is really cool. I'm really excited for that.
Yes. And then again, it's like how you manifest things into life, like it will come true. Like when I said I need a new journey in 2020, it's funny because what happened to me, Jules, was like my car broke down in the middle of the road. And he said, and instead of me getting so frustrated because I love my Mini Cooper, right? And because it was a Mini Cooper, I got excited because like I remembered 2 to 3 weeks ago, I said, I am going to manifest a Jeep Wrangler. I want it white the way that I don't know if you've watched Clueless and stuff. I wanted what Cher had. And I wanted a white Jeep, top down, really pretty. I don't care. I need a 4 door. I'm not young anymore. I had a Mini that has a 2 door. It was terrible. And he said, I want it. And then lo and behold, 2 weeks after, because I kept saying I want it, but I was starting to become more comfortable with myself. Lo and behold, my car dies and it said engine failed. And it'll take me, it's better to just buy a new car than to keep this. And my whole entire face just lit up. I am going to get a car. And guess what, Jules?
You
I
got the
went,
car.
yep, I got it. And it was really weird. It was just like as if it was waiting for me. Because they said, I want a soft top Jeep white. And then they said, we only have one. It was meant for me. And I took it home. And that's
Yeah.
when I had this realization, oh my God, I have been manifesting things into my reality for the longest time. I just need to believe in myself. It's the same thing that happened with like my trips over and over. Like I manifested that because I believe in that. And I always have this thing called, I learned to develop this like back. I'm actually going to be writing a book about it. And it's called the Lucky Girl Syndrome. And what I've noticed is like every time that something happens to me, I always say, someone's watching over me. And I would say, I guess I'm like, I don't know why I deserve this, but I guess I'm a lucky girl. Every time I say that, every little bit, like I made sure that every little accomplishment, whether I found a penny on the floor, like while walking on the streets, someone told me that I was pretty, someone told me that I helped them. I didn't know why I'm receiving all of these blessings. I guess I'm a lucky girl. Every time I do that, the more comes to me. And that's when he said, okay. So like a bunch of like a bunch of keys and a bunch of my clients would always say like, how do you manifest certain things in your life? And I'm like, you do, because you have to believe in yourself. But it starts with who I was, what others think of me, and who I am. And then the other one is you're going to put what's written there. You're going to write your pros, the good traits that you have, and the not so good traits that you have. If if your not so good traits are longer than your good traits, that is unbalanced. You have to have more good traits in order for you to believe in you. And you start to have a different narrative playing in your head. And you start to become the director of your own movie of yourself. Because I believe that everybody in their lives, you are the director, you're the producer, you're the screenwriter, you're the lead into your own movie. And the same thing with the concept of book. You're the writer, you're the publisher, you're the reader, and you're everybody else is a reader, but you're still the leading lady or leading man of your life. And you have to accept that. The faster And the sooner you understand that you are the leading lady of your life, the more you're going to manifest the things that you want.
I love that. You're your main character of your story.
You are. And you'll learn that in your 30s. And the sooner you learn that, the easier life will be. And even with challenges, you get excited. That's what I learned. Like every single time, I guess, like I've had some, I've had some difficulties too. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I have this false positive thing. They're like positivity or toxic positivity, because I also don't believe in that. Is you also have to own your own story when you are going through it and you can't get yourself up, that you can allow yourself to have these types of feelings because you're outgrowing these types of patterns in your body and your cycle, in your soul. You release that by acknowledging it, but you also don't have to stay there. So every time, like I always say, like another trick that I do is like when something challenging happens, I just say, oh, I may be going through a lot right now, but maybe something really good will happen. I guess something really good will happen to me in the next couple of days. And then, lo and
Yeah,
behold,
instead of saying the other way, oh, a shoe's gonna drop, something bad's gonna happen. It's kind of like you're flipping the narrative.
yep, I'm flipping the narrative. I'm connecting to a different source of manifestation and a different source of energy that I acknowledge that something challenging can happen. But I'm also going to expect, oh, oh, something bad is happening or something challenging is happening. Oh, something really good is going to happen and I can feel it in my bones. And to which I'm always right. It's because I wrote that narrative to myself. And I think that's when you're going to learn the process along the way in your 30s. Because, like I heard in the 40s, like you honestly don't give an F anymore.
I love that switching the narrative of saying, oh, something good is gonna happen instead of something bad's gonna happen. I always thought the opposite. So now I'm gonna like flip it and see what happens and I'll keep you updated and let you
Yes,
know
please.
if like anything good happens. If I like start switching my thought process into more of a positive light and more like bringing manifestation and things in. I think that'll be really interesting seeing what will happen.
Yeah, that's the only way that you could do is just rewrite your story, rewrite how you think, rewrite everything because you got to accept the fact that some of the patterns that we hold, the insecurities that we hold are ancestral patterns, and you yourself are the only one that can break it. Guilt is one on my other side, or people pleasing is one on my side. It's because I'm in a culture that has this like debt of gratitude. Every time something kind happens, I have to return it back all the freaking time, which is it's a great source of energy shifting. But there's also limitations to that. And then at the same time, I know I always hear this because I say this to a lot of my clients, like, why are you, if something really good happens to you, why are you expecting that this is temporary? All of a sudden, not enjoying the present moment. Even if in the future, in the cards that things will end, like in relationships, enjoy it while it's there. Because if the more I have this like whole entire thing that I've noticed over the past few years doing readings, especially when it comes to love or personal development, they always tell me, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship that will hurt me. That's so unrealistic because having a relationship, especially if there is love, if one is looking for love, is the most inconvenient type of feeling in an action based emotion that one can ever experience. Because if you're a mom, okay, if you're a mom, it is so inconvenient for your time and sleep. Because if that baby wakes up and you need to breastfeed, it is inconvenient for your time and effort. If your partner or your friend is not available, it's inconvenient for your soul because you needed them. Love is such an inconvenient type of action based emotion. Because if it were convenient, if you treated it as if like your love is a convenience store, then you and everybody else will love you, or you will love when if it's convenient for you. That's not love. So when you're manifesting love, you are willing to say there will be accepting the fact that there will be challenges. And if you are afraid of getting hurt, that is going to happen. That be realistic. But the thing is, it's like, but if it's going to make you stop from living your life because you are afraid, because you have this fear of getting hurt, that comes from inside. It's because that you do not love yourself enough. So I always hear this like about fear of rejection. Get ready, honey. You are going to get rejected over and over again, and you need to love every moment of it, because every rejection that I've had since in my 20s, since in my teens, and even in my 30s, Jules, I realized that it made me stronger. And every time that I go through a no or a failure, I get excited. It's because I'm closer to the next step. And life, until the day that I am no longer in this lifetime, is going to be an experiment for me. And I am a student of life. And once that you start to become a student of life, you will learn how to manifest correctly. And you will manifest a lot of things.
I'm really excited to start playing around with manifestation and seeing what will come from it. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for telling your story on manifestation and how it helped you live your 30s and like how you are now and it's your stories, and it definitely shows that it could be very powerful.
it is. And the thing is, it's like, I also like on an astrological level, Jules, like everybody else that I hear is, oh, I'm never going to date a Virgo. Why not? Oh, I'm never going to date this. Why not? I was like,
Mhm.
sweetie, you are missing a whole entire life if you are in the dating pool. Date to all of the 12 zodiac signs and tell me, you would be very surprised who you're going to be attracted to. And you said, I will
Mhm.
never date a Scorpio. And then all of a sudden I hear a client of mine like, oh my God, I'm in love with a Scorpio. He's amazing. And I'm like, see, I told you. And he said, take it from me, who has dated all of those 12 signs. I love and adore each and every one of them. Because if it weren't for that experience, Jules, I wouldn't know how to navigate and even have fun. Take things light and at the same time learn the lessons in order for me to learn about myself.
So that actually leads me into the last question that I have for you is because of all the lessons you learned. What advice do you wish that you had about being 30 that you know now for those that are just turning 30 or in their young 30s like me? Like, what advice do you wish that you had?
Don't worry. Don't worry. Just ride the wave. You are going to be just fine. Be yourself. Work on your divine feminine self or your divine masculine self. Be confident. Showcase your light to everybody that you meet. Be your unapologetic self. Laugh. And also, me being an entrepreneur, I would definitely say, what are you waiting for?
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about your stories and sharing your journey and just everything. Like, I absolutely loved hearing what you had to say. And I'm just so excited to experience more of my 30s and see how much I grow and just kind of experience life and starting to invest more because I haven't really been doing that. So I'm excited to try it and see what happens. And yeah, thank you again just so much. I really appreciate your time here and I appreciate everything you had to share. So thank you.
No, thank you, Jules. I am so honored to be a part to be your guest and also to be a part of your 30 journey. I love that 30 journey.
That
To
should have
put
been the
that as
name of the
merch, I'm just
podcast.
saying. I was just been saying like you should put that as merch. 30 journey. I would love it. I would get a shirt, put it on a shirt because I would experience it. Yeah, like
Actually,
I say that
no, I was
again.
just gonna say that's gonna be 30 Journey is gonna be the name of your podcast title.
Oh, love that.
But no, I'm gonna do 30 Journey as your podcast title.
Oh,
Sound cool.
that's fine. I love that. 30 journey. I love that. Yeah, I told you just use it as merch. I'm like taking
I know that too.
this like entrepreneur stuff. But I am so grateful to be a part of this. Thank you for it's an honor to be your guest. And I am so excited for your journey. Enjoy, date as much as you can. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm pretty sure you're gonna probably censor this, but Jules, fuck up as much as you can because it's going to be the best fuck ups you'll ever have. And you're going to laugh, cry, and experience life.
Yes.
Experience life.
I love that. Thank you.
Hey friends, thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment to follow and review this podcast so it could reach others. Also, if you leave a review, I'll be sharing your review in the next episode. Lastly, if you want to be part of this growing podcast to chat about your life, your profession, passions, or if you have advice that you wish you had at 30, please sign up at the link provided in the show notes. I would love to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.